Iran has proposed new legislation that would make it even more difficult for women to have any control over their reproductive rights. Now, they're doing this in an effort to create more babies, procreate, I should say, and basically repopulate Iran as much as possible. Now, Amnesty International did a report on this, and it's crazy because this law would basically force women to stay home, not work, and have as many kids as possible. One draft law outlawing voluntary sterilization and restricting access to information about contraception was passed by Parliament in August of 2014 and is now being considered by the Guardian Council, which must approve all laws, Amnesty said. So if you want to get sterilized, if this law passes, you will not be able to do so as a woman. You won't be able to make that choice. And the government will also do everything in its power to withhold information about contraceptives from you. That way, of course, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to decide when or if you're going to have a child.
It's America.
Mm-hmm.
Abstinence only.
Yep.
Basically.
So some of it is mandatory, as Anna explained. Some of it is just pushing people in a certain direction. By the way, there's 90 million people in Iran, and more than half the country is under the age of 25, but not good enough. They want more. They're worried about dropping rates of reproduction, and so they just want more and more kids. Now, in order to do that, they're going to discriminate against women a little bit. So, well, what are you going to do?
So it gets worse. Another draft law forces employers hiring new staff to prioritize in order men with children, married men without children, then maybe married women with children. Parliament is due to consider this in April.
So think about what that does, too. When those two laws work in conjunction with one another, so they're telling women, we're unlikely to hire you. It's not that we're never going to hire you, but we're unlikely. You're lower in the priority list. So stay home. Plus, we're going to restrict your access to contraception. Oh, well, you look at that. While you were staying home, you got pregnant. Okay, now just stay home and take care of the kids.
Yeah.
So that's the direction they're
So
pushing.
what it's really doing, Jack, is it's making them dependent on a man.
That's
right?
another
That's the whole thing.
consequence,
I can't get, so now that's what increases people stay in domestic violence situations because they feel financially dependent on that person, and they're literally setting that system up right now.
Or at least super strongly incentivizing having the kid in the first. I mean, they're effectively setting up a caste system you can sort of influence where you're at in it. But also, by the way, obviously the most important thing here is that the women with children come after married men with children, but still, people who aren't married, men who aren't married are put after all of them, and then presumably women who aren't married and don't have kids after them. And if your idea is that you want them to get married and have kids, maybe them getting a job would help get them to the place where they're financially secure enough to start a family. Mm-hmm. They're saying if you're not already married and you don't already have kids, you're behind everybody else for finding a job. And by the way, in the Middle East, what happens when you tell men that they can't get married and they can't have a job? When they have sexual and economic insecurity, what does that lead to? It leads to groups like ISIS.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I thought you were going to say it leads to them having sex with other dudes.
By the way, we also know it leads to some extremely bizarre porn searches.
That's very true.
My first initial reaction is like, see, religion poisons everything. They're doing this under the guise of religion. But the people who are doing this aren't doing this for religiously. They might be hiding behind that. Mm-hmm. They're doing it for exactly because they want more people, and they don't mind repressing women, which is okay with their fundamentalist view of their religion, right? So that's the thing when religion is often used to do horrible shit,
well,
right?
I'm curious what the real priority is. Is the real priority, increasing the population in Iran, or is the real priority repressing women further under the guise of, populating Iran?
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I
because
see. I think you're
already
right.
we're having, look, Iran has devolved in many ways when it comes to human rights and civil rights. And if you look at what's happening in the courts right now, a woman's testimony is worth half a man's, while rape within marriage and domestic violence are not even recognized as criminal offenses. So these are real issues in Iran, and this is a problem that's happening now. There is no legislation for this. But there is legislation for rights of women to devolve further. Yeah. And it seems like whenever you're dealing with an oppressive government, this is the kind of thing that they do. They want to roll back the rights of women, and that's exactly what this will do.
Now, to tie in what all of you have said, so the incentives are now stay at home, okay? You're not likely to get a job. Get pregnant as quickly as you can, as many times as you can. And then once you're stuck in that home and you have no economic freedom, then your husbands can beat you and it's totally legal, and they can rape you and it's totally legal, and you'll have to deal with that.
Exactly.
And so why do they do all that? For all the reasons that you guys have been stating. So men are in charge and women are not.